Business Breakfast on Dubai Eye on One.
Where we're talking gas with Richard Dean.
Indeed we are. We're talking a lot of hot air, Thomas, this morning. And that is because ADNOC, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, has found a new gas field under the waves of the Arabian Sea off the coast of the nation's capital. It is 2 trillion standard cubic feet. What does it all mean for us? What does it mean for Abu Dhabi? Delighted to be joined by Dr. Justin Dargin of the University of Oxford. Justin, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so 2 trillion standard cubic feet. Honestly, to me, that could be enough to power my barbecue, or it could be an economic game changer. Give us some context.
Oh, okay. Well, I think what's important to recognize is how far the UAE has come. Since about the mid to late 2000s, the UAE had experienced rapidly rising natural gas demand from about 6 to 8% per year. And then quite quickly, the UAE saw that this was actually outstripping its ability to meet this demand. Its production was not actually meeting it. So from about 2015 or so, you start to see a lot more investment in the non-associate natural gas sector. So basically, this is natural gas fields which are a bit independent from the oil production. And these investments began to bear fruit. And the UAE was actually able to increase its overall natural gas production, its domestic natural gas production in terms of its domestic energy mix. So overall, the picture is looking a lot better than it was about 10 or even 15 years ago for the UAE.
So is it a game changer or just an incremental improvement? Very quickly, Justin.
Well, it's incremental. I would say it's not a game changer per se, but it's part of the overall Emirati strategy to reduce its domestic natural gas demand, and at the same time to increase its natural gas production. And also, in terms of it being a game changer, I would say that it would be able to reduce at least the UAE's reliance upon imports, which I think is quite important. So not necessarily a game changer, but at least it's a step in the right direction.
Justin, how did we not know it was there all this time? We've known that there's bucket loads of gas in the Arabian Gulf for decades now. There's the massive field that Qatar and Iran share. Abu Dhabi's got some as well. We've had the kind of 3D seismic scanning technology that ADNOC and the Italians have used to discover this field, again, for decades now. How did we not know it was there?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things you have to realize is that the UAE was quite sufficient, we could say, with its own natural gas production, which was with associated natural gas wells. So it was only actually quite recently that the UAE started to see the need actually for it to start producing its own domestic natural gas to a great degree. So that's why you start to see a lot more of these gas finds as of the past few years or so. But if we look at the early 2000s, then the UAE actually had more than enough natural gas to meet its own requirements. So that's why you're starting to see a lot more of these natural gas finds and discoveries start to come to the fore.
And I guess it's easy to forget that it's not that long ago that the associated gas you speak about, when people were drilling an oil field and there was gas there, this was a nasty byproduct that you used to flare off to get rid of it. It's relatively recently that we've realized, hang on, this is valuable stuff, isn't it, Justin?
Oh, absolutely.
And not just the UAE, but globally.
Oh, absolutely. Well, what the UAE actually realized in the 1970s was that it should dramatically reduce its gas flaring and actually build its industrialization upon the natural gas molecule. And the natural gas molecule has so many diverse uses, and it's the bedrock of Emirati industrialization and also the expansion of its downstream value-added enterprises. So as the UAE is seeking to become competitive and to maintain its comparative advantage in the post-oil world, the natural gas molecule is going to be front and center. And the UAE has realized the value of this.
So we can make petrochemicals out of it rather than just powering Richard Dean's barbecue, which is good to know. Justin, while we've got you on the line, let me ask about the oil price. If you're watching on Microsoft Teams, you'll see that Justin's got a bookshelf in the background. And one of the books that you've got, if you look over, I think it's your left shoulder, Justin, it's The New Map by Daniel Yergin. who's won Pulitzer Prizes for his books on the energy economy, and he was speaking this week, and he says he thinks we are going to $100 oil because of the tensions in Russia with the situation in Ukraine at the moment. Where do you see the oil price going? We're above $90 this morning, not just for Brent, but also for American crude.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think we will push past the $100 mark. I mean, absolutely. And I think one of the reasons for that is that there has been a sustained lack of investment since the onset of the pandemic. And so even though there has been a slight rebound in economic growth, in the global economy, but we could say that investment in the various oil fields and what have you internationally have not actually picked up in order to meet this renewal of demand. So that's actually one of the major reasons why we're seeing the price actually inching towards $100 per barrel. And then if you look at the tensions that are occurring in Europe, this is more or less what you term the risk premium or the fear premium. I mean, so this is what adds a fair amount of volatility to the international oil price. But the main structural issues in terms of the overall investment that hasn't been returning, that is what is actually one of the main structural drivers causing the price to increase. And I do think, as you rightly indicated, it will reach over $100 per barrel, perhaps even higher than that.
Very quickly, I haven't read the new map. I hear it's great. I'm sure you have. 30 seconds. Where does the UAE fit in over the next couple of decades in the new hydrocarbon, indeed, energy map generally?
Oh, well, actually, that's a great question. The way that I see the UAE has been quite forward thinking, and it's actually been a first mover in the Middle East in terms of being prepared and recognizing that this change is upon us. And not only that, the UAE has recognized that there is a significant amount of opportunity for it to utilize the massive investments in renewable energy and also to mitigate carbon emissions, to be able to use that to diversify its macroeconomy. So the
Justin, we're going to have to leave it there. We're out of time.
Sure.
It's been a fascinating conversation, and I'm sure we'll have many more to come. It's the voice of Justin Dargin, Dr. Justin Dargin at the University of Oxford. He's an energy expert there.